They had always seemed unbreakable. Jamie Dornan and Amelia Warner, the couple that somehow managed to stay untouched by Hollywood's chaos. For more than a decade, their love story had been painted as a rare example of privacy and devotion in an industry built on noise. But one night, the illusion cracked. A single headline flashed across entertainment sites: Jamie Dornan accused of hiding a secret child. Within hours, it was everywhere: social media, tabloids, podcasts. The whispers spread faster than the truth could catch up. Fans who once celebrated their picture-perfect marriage now questioned everything. It started with an anonymous post on a gossip forum, a claim that Jamie had fathered a child years ago, long before the fame, and that the truth had been covered up to protect his image. There was no proof, no name, no date, only fragments, rumors, and speculation. Yet in a world addicted to scandal, fragments are enough to start a fire. The next morning, Amelia woke to her phone buzzing non-stop. Messages from friends, colleagues, journalists, all asking the same question she didn't yet know how to answer. She sat in silence, scrolling through the chaos, her breath caught between disbelief and dread. It wasn't the first time she'd seen her husband's name tangled in headlines, but this one felt different. This one wasn't about fame or roles. It was about family, her family. Jamie, filming overseas at the time, called immediately. "It's just noise," he said, his voice firm but tired. "There's nothing to it, I promise." Amelia wanted to believe him, and maybe she did. But even when love is strong, the heart trembles under the weight of uncertainty. The couple decided to stay silent. No statements, no denials. They had always handled rumors the same way, by ignoring them until they disappeared. But this time, silence didn't calm the storm, it fed it. Each day without a response became another headline. Amelia Warner refuses to comment. Why is Jamie Dornan so quiet? The world filled in the blanks with its own imagination. Some called Amelia the loyal wife suffering in silence. Others painted her as the betrayed woman holding back her fury. Every photo of her, walking alone, picking up her kids, looking away from cameras, became a new clue for tabloids desperate to interpret emotion. Her friends worried. "Say something," one told her. "Set the record straight." But Amelia's instinct was different. She had lived too long in the shadow of other people's narratives. The more the world demanded her reaction, the quieter she became. Because sometimes silence isn't weakness, it's armor. Meanwhile, Jamie tried to focus on work, but every interview turned into a minefield. Reporters disguised curiosity as concern. How do you balance fame and family? Is it hard keeping your private life private? Each question carried the same hidden edge. He answered with his practiced smile, the one that said nothing and everything at once. At home, Amelia shielded their daughters from the noise. She turned off notifications, avoided social media, and stayed close to family. But there were moments when the weight of it all showed, in the tired way she moved, in the long pauses before she spoke. Then came the photo, a grainy image posted by a tabloid, claiming to show Jamie with a young child at an airport. No context, no timestamp. It went viral within hours. The caption read, "Is this the secret finally exposed?" For Amelia, it felt like a punch. She didn't even know if the photo was real, but the damage was done. The world wasn't asking for facts anymore, it was feeding on emotion. Through it all, Amelia kept her composure. She attended a charity event days later, her first public appearance since the scandal broke. Cameras swarmed as she stepped out of the car. She wore no wedding ring that night, not out of anger, but exhaustion. When a reporter shouted, "Amelia, do you believe the rumors?" she stopped for just a second, her eyes calm but unreadable. Then she smiled faintly and walked away. That moment went viral too. The media called it the silence that screamed. In private, though, Amelia was breaking. She wrote late into the night, fragments of thoughts, feelings she couldn't say out loud. One post eventually appeared on her Instagram, simple and raw. Truth has a way of showing itself when you least expect it. She didn't name anyone. She didn't explain. But those few words ignited another wave of speculation. Some saw forgiveness. Others saw a farewell. For Amelia, it was neither. It was the sound of someone trying to breathe again after being suffocated by headlines. And while the world continued to debate what her silence meant, one thing was clear. The woman who had built her life around privacy was now living through her most painful chapter under the brightest spotlight. No one yet knew what she would say next, or if she would ever speak again. But one thing was certain. Behind every rumor was a heart learning how to survive it. Days passed, and the noise only grew louder. Every headline screamed speculation. Every talk show turned Amelia Warner's silence into a topic of entertainment. For weeks, she had refused to speak, believing the storm would fade like all others before it. But this time, it didn't fade, it burned. The weight of the whispers, the pitying looks, the half-truths. They all pressed down on her until silence no longer felt like strength. It felt like suffocation. So when Amelia finally decided to speak, she didn't call a press conference or post a dramatic video. She sat down for a quiet interview with a journalist she trusted, someone who had once promised her that truth deserves space, not spectacle. The interview took place in her home, the same home where laughter used to echo and where now, the air felt fragile. Amelia appeared calm, her hair loose, her voice steady. But her eyes betrayed a heaviness that words couldn't hide. "I never thought I'd have to talk about my marriage in public," she began softly. "But I also never thought the world would talk about it for me." The journalist asked the question everyone wanted to know: are the rumors true? Amelia paused. The silence stretched for seconds that felt like minutes. "There's a difference," she finally said, "between what's true and what's been said. And I think sometimes people forget that those two things aren't always the same." She didn't deny the rumor, nor did she confirm it. Instead, she chose to speak from a place deeper than proof, from the ache of a woman watching her love story turn into a headline. "When you love someone," she continued, "you build a world with them. And when that world is questioned, even if it's not your fault, it still breaks something inside you." As the words left her mouth, it wasn't anger that filled the room. It was heartbreak, quiet, contained, dignified heartbreak. Jamie, still overseas at the time, reportedly watched the interview alone in his hotel room. Those close to him said he didn't move for the entire 30 minutes. When Amelia said, "Sometimes love hurts, even when you still believe in it," he looked down, his hands clenched together, as if holding on to something invisible. The interview sent shockwaves through the media. Fans called it brave, raw, devastating. Some praised her grace, others dissected every word, searching for hidden meaning. But for Amelia, it wasn't about controlling the narrative anymore. It was about reclaiming her voice. Behind the scenes, she and Jamie spoke only briefly. Not as celebrities, but as two people trying to find air amid the wreckage. "I don't want to fight," she told him. "I just want to understand what's real." Jamie's response was barely a whisper. "You're what's real." But truth, once fractured, is hard to mend. No matter what explanations came afterward, whether the secret child rumor had been twisted, exaggerated, or entirely false, the damage had been done. The public had tasted the drama, and the couple's private wounds became part of the spectacle. For Amelia, the hardest part wasn't the rumor itself. It was the realization that love, no matter how pure, can't always protect you from the world. "I used to think silence was safety," she confessed in the interview. "But silence lets other people write your story for you. And I think, I finally want to write mine." In the days following her statement, something shifted. The tabloids began to soften their tone. The cruel headlines faded. People started to see her not as a victim, but as a woman standing in her truth, fragile but fearless. Jamie returned home soon after. The paparazzi caught them walking together once, hand in hand, their expressions unreadable. Some called it reconciliation, others called it performance. But for those who looked closer, there was something real in that silence, not denial, not surrender, but two people clinging to what was left. When asked later if she regretted speaking out, Amelia smiled faintly. "No," she said, "I didn't speak to defend anyone. I spoke to remember who I am." That was the moment she took her power back, not from Jamie, not from the media, but from the noise that had swallowed her. Weeks later, she posted one last message online. A simple quote that read, "Sometimes the truth doesn't heal. It just teaches you who's willing to stay." No tags, no explanations, just those words. And perhaps that's how Amelia Warner chose to end this chapter. Not with a statement of forgiveness or accusation, but with quiet grace. Because behind the heartbreak and the headlines was a woman who learned that even in love's most painful moments, silence can become strength, but only when it finally learns how to speak. For Jamie, the scandal would fade eventually, replaced by new projects, new interviews. But for Amelia, the scars would remain, not as reminders of betrayal, but as proof of survival. And as she once said, with that calm, steady voice that the world would never forget, "You can break my heart, but you can't take my voice."